I just trust Ruja. If people ask me very technical questions, I go, I don't know. I just trust Dr. Ruja. And she's never let me down, so.
That was Ed Ludbrook. He was the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, Chief Leadership Officer, and Asia Ambassador for OneCoin. Now, we don't know how much money he personally benefited, but it was probably quite large, as he was an integral part of what may be the biggest Ponzi in history, that being OneCoin. Now, if you've been listening last week, I had interviewed Bjorn Bjerke, who was also a whistleblower on the OneCoin Ponzi. And this week, I'm very pleased to be welcoming Tim Curry, also known as Tayshun, who has tirelessly worked for years now to try and expose this Ponzi, as well as warn off people from investing or investing more and to help save themselves. Tim was recently featured on the hit BBC podcast series, The Missing Crypto Queen, which follows the search for the infamous and now missing Dr. Ruja Ignatova. I'm very excited to be speaking to him today, and I think this is going to be a very informative and very detailed episode on the entirety of his experience over the years, revealing what might be the greatest Ponzi in history. Before we get into the interview, I was wondering if you could do me a favor. Please listen to my sponsor, eToro, which you can go to at digiknowcrypto.com/eToro, and you will get $50 for free to use to buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin on eToro, a trusted smart trading platform offering some of the most innovative trading tools in all of Bitcoin. If you also could go and leave a 5-star and a written review on iTunes, that would help immensely. And also go to supportmypodcast.com and click on the listener supporter button, and you will get exclusive discounts for free. There's no gimmicks, there's no tricks. So head on over to supportmypodcast.com. That's supportmypodcast.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be here.
So I'm also really happy to have you on. The missing crypto queen has kind of become a real well, probably not maybe to you, but to a lot of us is a very kind of a surprise hit, and a lot of us were not aware of everything that was going on, and it was the number one podcast in the UK for a while. And last week I interviewed Bjorn on this topic. And for you personally, though, how is your reaction? How has the reaction of other people been, since this series has launched?
Well, what we have been trying to do is raise attention and awareness for this, and we've been kind of struggling in an uphill battle for quite some time in order to get the media to really report this in a bigger manner. And so when BBC wanted to do something, and all of us, because there's a number of us that are kind of working as a team internationally, trying to raise awareness of this and stop this fraud from happening, because it's bad for crypto. No one had really before that done such a piece on it, with maybe one or two small exceptions. So yeah, this pretty much accomplished what we wanted to do.
So, the interview that I did with Bjorn, we went kind of over the basics of OneCoin, but, just in case we have, new listeners who haven't listened to that episode or anything like that, I was wondering if you could actually give a brief overview of what OneCoin is and how it, differs from the quote unquote legitimate blockchain projects and, in this space, and how they're, as well as harnessing this kind of very classic MLM pyramid technique kind of led to their great success. I mean, it is a success if you want to, they accomplished what they wanted to do, probably much bigger than they ever thought. But, how has it, done all that?
Yeah, great question. So OneCoin started in they started promoting it in September of 2014. So this is a long time. This is over 5 years ago now. And they were building it on the success of Bitcoin, but through a multi-level marketing type of model. And so what their model was within that model was to bring on big influencers in the network marketing industry that could have the whereabouts to bring in big teams and leaders and downlines in order to pitch them this snake oil. And so one thing that was a bit different from them is that they seemed to have really marketed it well and put money behind it in order to get it to where it was much quicker. So basically what their pitch is that, you know, OneCoin is a centralized cryptocurrency that's going to beat Bitcoin, and Bitcoin price started at 10 cents is what they say, and then it went up to you know, $1,200 is where it was, you know, before they, you know, September 2014 is when they started. So that was the example that they used. And anyone who would have gotten involved in it would have, you know, become massively rich. And so we're creating a cryptocurrency, and through the avenue of multi-level marketing, we're going to have more users and be bigger than Bitcoin ever was. And anyone who gets involved is going to be extremely wealthy. So that was kind of what their pitch was, and how they modeled it. And a lot of their stories went into, you know, the pizza story with what's his name, Lazaro, or whatnot, and that this guy that bought these pizzas for so much. And basically their pitches were everything that we've ever heard in cryptocurrency, just completely recycled and tailored to promoting what has now become over a $4 billion scam that has somehow swept underneath the notice of most of the cryptocurrency community and news media.
And those of you who are, you know, listening right now that are kind of unfamiliar with the tactics that are used in these scams, I think it's really, you know, this episode is going to be really important for you kind of going forward, regardless if you pay any more attention to OneCoin or not. And I think that's the real importance of what, you know, Tim has been doing as well, and what we're going to, you know, be talking about in this episode is like, it's a really good way for people to go forward and kind of recognizing the ways that they do that. And he's been really great in providing me with a great, you know, massive amount of clips and links to videos that he's compiled over the years. And we're going to be playing portions of those throughout this interview. And I'll be posting all of these full-length interviews, even the ones that we aren't necessarily including in here as well, in the show notes at didyouknowcrypto.com/EP59. So just go there and you'll be able to find all of those. And this first clip will be to help illustrate how blatant this whole thing was. And this is, I believe, Tom McMurrain. I was actually wondering, Tim, if you can kind of give a quick overview of who this guy was within OneCoin before we play it.
Sure. Did we open with Ed Ledbrick, and this is now Tom McMurrain?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Tom McMurrain is a serial scammer, and I could say that on the air because he's a convicted Ponzi criminal who spent 7 years in prison in the U.S. for ripping people off. And what's very interesting about him and some of the types of promoters in this type of, you know, nefarious business is that they completely go from scam to scam to scam, and attempt to well position themselves at the top of the proverbial pyramid in order to build a massive downline underneath them and steal as much money as they possibly can. So the clip you're about to hear is Tom McMurrain, who has also supported USI Tech, I believe, as well as something called Sabian, as well as numerous other now collapsed Ponzi schemes. I think he was involved in Zeke Rewards, which was about an $800 million Ponzi scheme. And he's just, and he's American, by the way. Some of the people that we focus on in these clips that you'll hear are either, are U.S. citizens. And this guy is just one of the worst, as far as I'm concerned.
Guess what? It gets better. It gets a lot better, in fact. Okay. So let's say I bring in Mary and I make 10% off of whatever Mary's paycheck is every week. Every week I get 10% a bonus on whatever Mary makes. Mary brings in Carlos. I make 10% on whatever Carlos's check is every single month. Now, I may not even know who Carlos is. Every week. So every week Carlos gets paid. I get a 10% bonus off of his check, and I get a 10% bonus off of Mary's check. Mary brings in, Carlos brings in Zane, okay? I get a 20% bonus off of whatever Zane makes. Now, do you think I even know who Zane is? I don't have a clue who Zane is. He's in Pakistan. I've never been to Pakistan, but I'm making money off of Pakistan now. So I'm interested in working with Zane because I want to build out the Pakistan market, because if Zane makes 35,000 euros per month, I make 7,000 euros per month just off of his check. My bonus off of Zane is 7,000. That's twice as much as the average income of a U.S. citizen. No, I'm sorry, it's 3 times as much. 3 times as much as the average U.S. citizen makes. I can make that in one bonus off of one person in Pakistan, okay? Now, Zane, let's say Zane brings in Lori. Lori's in Oregon, okay? I make 25% off of Lori and everything she does up in Oregon, but she doesn't know anybody in Oregon, so she starts recruiting in Mexico, okay? All the money that she earns from building in Mexico, make 25% off of whatever her check is. So if she makes 20,000 for the month or 10,000 for the month, I make 2,500 euros as my bonus.
So, that's just quite amazing, and for the listeners, it goes on further. Like I said, I have the full videos will be in the show notes, but he just keeps on going and illustrating farther down, and they call this the downline in these MLM schemes, and that's just basically the farther down the pyramid that you go of, the people you sign up other people, those people sign up other people, and the farther down you go, and your profit just increases. And to me, like, there's no other clip that I saw that I heard that was as blatant of just showing its pyramid nature. And when you mix in no real actual product, promises of wealth with no realistic expectation of what they've promised to happen ever happening, you have just the perfect storm of a scam. So, can you tell us a little bit more about Tom and this whole downline thing that is going on in OneCoin, as well as just, how it works in general for many of these scams?
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so Bitcoin was pitched as the easy cryptocurrency. It's just easier. And, Bitcoin is for nerds. We've made it easy for you. We've made it, all you have to do to mine coins is push one button. These other, you want to mine Bitcoin, you got to buy all these, these hardwares, and you got to have a warehouse, and it creates all this heat and costs all this electricity. When you sign up for us, we have one-click mining. So we give you an education package, and with that education package comes free tokens, and then you just simply submit those free tokens into mining, and then those mining tokens become cryptocurrency called OneCoin. So in illustrating just that alone, what we see is that this is really just a straight exchange, because they have invented these things called like a split barometer and a difficulty barometer and things like this in order to kind of make the quote unquote mining aspect of the scheme seem more legitimate. But if the difficulty is what it started out with, it was 4. That meant 4 tokens would equal one coin, and now it's like 150 difficulty or whatever it is. And so 150 tokens now equals one coin. Did I say Bitcoin earlier? 4 tokens equals one coin when it started. Maybe 150 or whatever it is equals one coin now. Now what this is it's a direct exchange. 4 tokens, 4 OneCoins. But of course, this isn't a cryptocurrency, and this isn't how mining works. So what's really happening on the back end, and something that the critics realized very early, is that these are just points on an Excel spreadsheet, essentially, and they're just being transferred and moved between columns and rows, and that's really the whole thing in its most simplistic form. With what we just heard from Tom McMurrin, he's like, oh, and then I bring on Zane, and then there's Kelly or Michelle, or this and that, and then she sells it to so and so, and he sells it, and it's like, okay, man, this is already getting way more complicated than Bitcoin, okay? And so when I first heard about OneCoin, it was it was in 2015 in late March, and this was right after Paycoin had gone to the market, right? And Paycoin was Josh Homero Garza's Ponzi scheme, which, but it was a real cryptocurrency, but it, said that it had all these, relationships with Visa and MasterCard, and that they had agreements with, Kmart and Target or Amazon or whatever, all this stuff, right? And one thing that Paycoin had also promised was that when we go public, we're going to have a $20 floor. $20 floor meaning that the company would ensure that the coins would be worth at least $20. Now, what we know about free market economics is that the value of anything is only based on what someone is willing to pay for it and someone else is willing to sell it for. And there's a balance there. So when Paycoin went onto an exchange, the price immediately started dropping, and there was no valid internal price, because on an open market, it's 100% supply and demand. So that's how Paycoin started collapsing. And I've been interested in maybe 3 big scams that really captivated me over the last decade or 2, and even before cryptocurrency. One was the O.J. Simpson trial. 2 was the Casey Anthony trial. Casey Anthony killed her little daughter, and said that she didn't, and she was just a really ridiculous person, but the trial was absolutely captivating. Then when I got into crypto, I really started following the Paycoin scandal, and trying to figure out whether this Homero Garza guy was going to pull this thing off or not, because in his case, I think Garza may even have not had necessarily ill intentions, but I think that in his case, it was a cryptocurrency that turned into a Ponzi scam, and just a lot of basically bullshit promises and things that no one could ever guarantee. And so when OneCoin came out, when someone on Facebook hit me up and said, hey, I noticed you're into cryptocurrency, I think you should check out this new cryptocurrency out of Europe that has a lot of potential and is going to be the next big thing. And I was like, sure, I'll happy to check it out. So the guy sent me, his name was Jason Richard Mangan. He was one of the early promoters in the USA, and at this point OneCoin had been in operation for about 6 months. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, about 7 months. And so he sends me a link to onecoin.eu. I go check it out, and literally within about 3 minutes, I was sure it was a scam. Which brings up an interesting point. How do you identify scams, right? Well, in OneCoin's case, this was a poorly created website that was wrought with grammar and some spelling errors, and it was also definitely not written by someone who had an inkling about what cryptocurrency was or how it operates or anything like this. And it was really just a page of hype that had been put together saying we're going to be the next Bitcoin, and OneCoin is going to be a borderless payment system, and get on board now. Don't miss out. Bitcoin, skyrocketed over the last 6 years, 5 years at the time, whatever it was, and it gave examples, and it was completely just riding on the coattails of Bitcoin. And so I looked around to see if there was information regarding who was, running it, or who the team was, and just common stuff that you would look for. And there really was nothing. And so initially, OneCoin's website didn't even have Dr. Ruja on it. It was just a pretty generic website, which was rather soon thereafter built out to include images of her dressed in big doll dresses on large stages in front of thousands of people, and so within about 3 minutes, like I said, I got back to this Jason guy. I'm like, hey bro, you know what, this is a scam, man. You pull your money out if you can. Not a scam. This is the real thing. This is going to be revolutionary and stuff. I'm all, no, it's not, dude. This is totally a scam. I've been into crypto for 2 years at this point, and he insisted. And so he sends me this link. I'm all, how's this mining supposed to work? He's all, dude, this is what makes it so great. He's all, Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies, you have to have this computer equipment. Is just click a button and boom, you're done. And then you just got to wait for the coins to be mined. And while that doesn't sound right at all, so how does that work? He's all, I'm going to send you a video. Then well, okay, cool. So he sends me this video. It's like 49 minutes long, right? And it's titled Ruja Ignatova Explains OneCoin Mining. And so I'm listening to it, and it's about 10 minutes in at this point, and I'm just listening, and I'm hearing all this hype and all this, we're going to do this, we're going to be on the exchange, and even, we're the third largest cryptocurrency right now, is what she was saying in the video. I'm like, wait a minute, where does this information come from, right? And so I finally finished the video and realized that the video that was about OneCoin mining explained, it was like Ruja Ignatova, OneCoin mining explained, didn't have anything at all about mining. So I'm like, yeah, bro, this is definitely a scam. And I pretty much forgot about it for a while after that. Not for a while, but for a little while, until I started seeing, more and more mentions and comments and posts about it popping up on on Facebook. And that's how it all started.
Well, that kind of reminds me of, gosh, what was that, about a year ago? I can't remember the exact name of it, and it wasn't, I wouldn't call it a scam. It was very weird. It was, I don't remember. You probably saw this popping up on Facebook. There was that, the PayPal guys.
Yeah. They wanted your
like
email address. Yeah, they wanted your email address, and then everybody gets a certain amount of this cryptocurrency, and then they just disappeared, right?
Yeah, it was very weird. It just felt like they were just trying to get links to people who were email addresses, to compile email list of people who were probably more likely to fall for some sort of scam at some later point. I imagine they probably just disappeared and sold that off, because I have not seen one thing about it in over a year.
Right, totally. And the way I know exactly what it was, I'm going to try to look it up real quick, but it basically presented itself at the scale of what, say, a Libra would do, and it really had that level of marketing. Libra being, the coin that Facebook is working on, and it's it's everybody gets in that gets in early gets a little bit for free, and so people would give their email addresses, and then supposedly await until this certain launch date, and then basically there'd be the world's largest airdrop, right? And And so what that was in retrospect, because again, it just disappeared after maybe 3 or 4 months or so of promotion. That was just a big identity theft, type of marketing device. And I don't, I didn't fill out my email address or anything like that. And I advised anyone who was going to use a throwaway, a burner, email, if they wanted to just see what would happen, because it was kind of interesting, just the amount of money or effort that they put into it. But yeah, now they have, probably 50, 100 million email addresses.
Initiative Q.
Yeah. Initiative Q.
Yeah, it was it was very weird to me, and I just found their website. So I remember when I first looked at it, it was like you were going to get like $80,000 worth, and now it's down to like 16. But you had to like get invited, and then you get bonuses for inviting more friends. It just I mean, I get that you can use that as a a marketing tool. I mean, if outside of cryptocurrency, I mean, people kind of do it all the time, but it just reeks of I don't know, just it just reeks of, to me, just feeling pretty yucky when you're dealing with anything that does that. But I would imagine that I don't know. There hasn't been. I was looking at it when I looked it up. It was all October 30th, November 2018, and there hasn't been anything that I've seen. No, I'm not seeing any updates. This is they have a basic roadmap of not even really. I mean, it's very generic of, step 1, sign up. Step 7, we're going to be, the world's biggest cryptocurrency, which, that makes sense.
Right. And so it did make weird sense in a way, in that what they were trying to do is make a very, very large footprint, or at least in theory, they were trying to, they were pitching that they were going to make this massive footprint by giving away, a little bit to everybody. And then because everyone had some, everyone would want to move some around, or, whatever they were going to create after that or whatever. But and it did have that kind of exclusive invite only type of thing. And then if you did invite additional people, then you would qualify for additional airdrop coins or whatever. And even in OneCoin, in the early stage, that's kind of how they pitched it, that this is an exclusive deal. You're really lucky that I'm talking to you about it right now, because we're putting together the best team and the best people around the world. And in fact, they were putting together the best criminals around the world, the best scammers, the best serial scammers that were in the industry. And they recruited from some of the top earning companies in network marketing. And by the way, I never before OneCoin had I been interested in or studied or well versed really in network marketing or multi-level marketing. I mean, I have nothing personally against multi-level marketing. It's not something that I could do or participate in, because the statistical facts are that at least 98% of people that are involved in it never even break even, and a tiny fraction of 1% just make it ripping rich if it's a widely distributed product or theory. And that's really what OneCoin was, is that they came in just at the right time. And just prior to OneCoin had been a few little MLM crypto experiments. And when I say crypto experiments, I don't mean real cryptocurrency experiments, by the way. I'm talking about OneCoin was like the biggest of the first generation of MLM cryptocurrency. So directly before it was a company called BigCoin that Ruja Ignatova, who was the founder and CEO of OneCoin, was involved in with her co-founder and quote unquote master distributors. So these MLM cryptos have these master distributors. I haven't really heard too much of master distributors in the real crypto space. But anyhow, so those were the two basic founders. But they also at that time in late 2014 had someone else that was involved in OneCoin named Nigel Allen. And Nigel Allen had done a few MLM crypto scams, one called Nano, one called Crypto 888, which was big in Asia. And by the way, there's a lot of symbolism that is used in these big scams marketing. 888 is a lucky number in China, for instance. So when, if you go to Macau and you go to the casinos and stuff like that, a lot of the casinos are going to have the 888 number, and lottery tickets or whatever are going to have 888. 888 is just like lucky. It means, hey, you're lucky. It's like rubbing, Buddha's belly or whatever in some cultures. And so these first iterations of MLM crypto scams were trying to figure out how to get it right. And Nigel Allen was actually the first president of OneCoin. And I think that Ruja and Sebastian kind of got, for one, Nigel had a really, really bad past. I mean, he was, for the last decade or more, he had just been involved in so many scams that he had a bad name, a bad reputation. And if OneCoin was going to take off, then they needed to get rid of him. He did a project called Brilliant Carbon, which was selling fake carbon credits to their investors, and all these things collapsed, and the only ones that made any money were the people on the top. And that's just, how it was. It was the get rich quick schemes definitely worked, but only for the top, 0.001% or whatever. So that's, how these were modeled. And when OneCoin came out, it was just a little bit before like the ICO craze, for instance. Like they started maybe almost about a year before we even really started hearing much about ICOs and before it started being common. So there's media that is covering Bitcoin, that's covering the wild fluctuations of Bitcoin, and then, Ethereum. And then, you're hearing a little bit more about crypto, and the word blockchain is starting to come around and stuff like this. And man, these people just absolutely took advantage of it, adopted it, and slapped a sticker on a empty can of beans and said that, hey, this is what we're doing, and it's going to be the biggest cryptocurrency in the world.
And yeah, it's, well, actually, no, I'll ask you that a little bit later on. We did actually have another clip, and this is going to be a collection of people involved in OneCoin. It runs for a couple of minutes, but I think it's really helpful to kind of illustrate for the listeners who may have never heard these kind of pitches before, and specifically the ones with OneCoin, of the outlandish claims, the promises, these massive promises made to people. And these are very vulnerable people that they target. They have dreams of bettering their life. These are often not people that have massive amounts of money, or I should say, when they targeted the Western world first, and then now the third world.
Right. So a lot of the strategy of these schemes is to get in and get out of where the good money is. But where the good money is in the U.S. and maybe even Canada and the UK and certain countries, but where the good money is also where the stronger regulations are. And so they knew that they can operate here only for a limited period of time before they're going to start raising eyebrows and suspicions. And if they were going to make this a global scam, then they don't want to start popping up like a poor thumb in these type of areas. They came in specifically just to heist in the US, for instance. So they came in just like it was a diamond robbery. They went in, they smashed the shelves, they grabbed as much as they could, and they ran out. And then they started going to other countries.
And these folks, just to give you the order for people to kind of give a little context, the first one's going to be a guy named Dennis Murdoch, which I did a little bit of stalking on his LinkedIn, and he's just a wonderful character. He called himself, I believe, Mr. Was it 84,000 ROI or something like that?
Oh no, we call him Mr. 84,000
Oh, okay.
ROI because he on one of his websites promised a no risk investment in an 84,000% return on investment in OneCoin. Risk, by the way. So, and here's the thing though, look, cryptocurrency is so crazy that everything that these guys were marketing as this new product, it actually happened in Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they were, so they're like, damn, that was crazy. We're going to just say that we're going to do the same thing. But even if we have nothing, people, are going to hear the news. We'll flood them with a little bit of information about the 10,000 Bitcoin pizza. And, if you have those 10,000 Bitcoins right now, what is that? $1 billion or whatever, a million, however many millions of dollars. And so, these were all true stories. And so they took facts, they manipulated the facts and pitched them that, we're experts in cryptocurrency. Dr. Ruja, who has this 200 plus IQ, is an expert in cryptocurrency. She's consulted cryptocurrency firms. And by the way, this is all bullshit, of course. And so as soon as they would say something like that, then we would jump in, critics would jump in, and there wasn't a lot of us, but there was a few of us, and we would jump in and go, look, that's bullshit. And I'll get into a little bit more of that later. But yeah, the Dennis Murdoch clip, this is after, this is probably in 2017 when Dennis Murdoch or 2018 actually, when Dennis Murdoch makes this claim. So this is 4 years into this.
And
Tom McMurrin. Yep.
Oh, no, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to say, then we're going to hear from Tom McMurrin giving these analogies of how rich you're going to be and why you need to get in now. It's the whole FOMO thing, right? And then we're going to hear from another promoter that basically promises everyone that they're going to get rich. You need to come in at these minimums, and it's just this is what people were sold on, and people only had heard a little bit about Bitcoin, and everything they heard about it was people got rich. That's what stuck with them, and so that's what they wanted. So this is what you're going to hear about in these clips.
You probably all know that OneCoin is the biggest in the world. It happens to be, there are more members using OneCoin than any other single coin in the world. It has the highest market cap, which means that if you take the number of coins in circulation times the price, that equals the market cap. I believe number 2 behind OneCoin is a little company called Apple. Anybody ever heard of Apple? Microsoft is there, Google is there, there are some big companies, but OneCoin is number 1. Fastest growing company in world history. And so it's no wonder that when you are number 1, you have enemies.
And so each one of these actually is a lot more valuable than what you're actually paying for. I like to tell people you're basically getting you're getting $100 bills for $10.
Hi everybody, Imam Ismail here, driving with my Mercedes. Thank you to OneCoin, thank you to Dr. Ruja to this amazing opportunity. Now I want you to take these 2 messages from me. Number 1 is go and contact again your people, the people that you introduced OneCoin, and tell them that, look, 1 year ago I gave you guys presentation. Maybe you didn't take it serious. Maybe you thought it's a scam. Well, it's not a scam. It's doing very well. Number 2 is that check at your team, and if your members in your team have less than 3,000 coins, make them call them and tell them to have at least 3,000 coins. Some of you guys are sitting with starter and trader and pro trader, which will give you 30 coins, 60 coins. For the future is not enough. You need more than that. At least minimum, I want my team of 1,928 people, each of them minimum to have at least 3,000 coins. You know what will happen? All of you guys will become very rich in the future, and you will thank Dr. Ruja and OneCoin.
Yeah, that's, just the first clip there with Dennis just ridiculous. I mean, market cap itself is kind of a disputed metric to measure, just because there's some issues, but we don't have to get into that. But to claim that OneCoin is the biggest because they take the price that they set themselves, because OneCoin determines the value of that coin, of their own coin, which there's no incentive there to be outlandish about it, and then multiply it by their quote unquote circulate or a total supply, which doesn't even really exist, which we kind of talked about in the episode with Bjorn, because they didn't really have a blockchain at all. It was just entries in their own Excel spreadsheet, basically, is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, though, for anyone who's not familiar with what a market capitalization is that's based on the trading and the last price multiplied by the number of coins in circulation. So, for instance, if Bitcoin has 18 million, coins that have been mined, and it has a market price of, let's just say, $10,000 to make it simple, then you got a $180 million market cap, right? And so when they use words like market capitalization, the whole "we're bigger than Apple" thing, I mean, most people would instantly know that that's not true. And I mean, this is a company that literally has no product, is creating these coins, by the way, at a rate of 50, and they're fake coins, obviously, but they say that they're creating them at a rate of 50,000 coins a minute. And people are like, we're going to be bigger than Bitcoin because we're creating coins at a rate of 50,000 coins a minute. Bitcoin can only do 12 and a half coins every 10 minutes, And so these are people that simply do not understand economics. Typically, they definitely have, anyone that knew anything about cryptocurrency would certainly instantly know that this, again, there's just so many things that are built up that you're indoctrinated with literally on a daily basis in many cases, because there's WhatsApp groups that are OneCoin. You are entered into, Jen McAdam was telling the story, you're entered into these WhatsApp groups and these different social media groups, and that's where you get all your information. It's all the inside information that's coming from corporate and coming from your team leaders and stuff like this. And the image of the company is about this great woman that's always dressed nice, that's a double PhD, has a 200 plus IQ, is a partner at McKinsey, which is a massive firm. And there's all this stuff, two-time businesswoman of the year in Bulgaria. And we're going to find out that all of the things that this company was built on were truths, half-truths, and lies, and a wicked combination of all of those, right? And so the market capitalization since the beginning of OneCoin has been completely undetermined. It's never traded publicly. So even a bigger market capitalization than Bitcoin. And before that, we're number 3. Like, what do you base your number 3 on? And so these are just lies that they'll use terms that are not necessarily familiar with the general public, like users. We have more users than Bitcoin. Well, what does users mean? You can't use this coin. You cannot transfer it from one person to another. There's no wallet. How the heck, even to this day, the transfers of these OneCoin tokens, which, as Bjorn mentioned, are from an SQL server. These are essentially moving from columns and rows in an Excel-like spreadsheet, and they're just giving different credits, moving it from one location to the other. It's not cryptocurrency. And so when they say users, no, you don't have users if you can't use the coin. Users, the people that have purchased these packages have these Ponzi points, and with those Ponzi points in their back office, if they log into the computer, they can move them only to their upline or only to their downline. Yet for the last 5 years, since the time that I saw this, the website back in 2015, they were saying, you know, hey, this is the borderless payments, and we're going to bank the unbanked and all this other sort of stuff. Dennis Murdoch in his presentations said that, you know what, when you're number one, you're going to have enemies. Well, why is that? I mean, I really don't hear a lot of people that are, you know, say Apple computers, or haters of Dell, or haters of Amazon, or haters of Kentucky Fried Chicken. You know, there's not there's not a lot of haters of real companies. But what these types of schemes use is something that we call the Ponzi playbook. And the Ponzi playbook is just like a playbook for, you know, how you play a board game, or how you might play or you know, strategize a sport, a football game, a baseball game, or whatever. In the Ponzi playbook, anyone who disagrees with you, any dissenter, is a hater. Anyone who has written any article about you is a paid blogger. They're capitalizing on your success and using your name in order to earn a few pennies per click from their advertisers on their own blog, for instance. And regardless of whether, you know, a major newspaper, for instance, did an article on OneCoin or not, most of these people would say, oh, they're just paid haters. And it's like, at some point, you can't pay that many people. And who's paying and why? So that's been just one of the silliest arguments, and something that anyone who has ever dissented to OneCoin has been accused of as being a paid hater. And and it's just really funny, because if you know, if I'm a paid hater, then someone forgot to send a check five years ago. You know, if someone is being paid, who is going to pay them, and for what? To speak, you know, to literally share documented evidence, hyperlinks, stories, articles about arrests, government warnings, bank seizures, etc. on this company. I mean, early on, most people that would notice a scam like this and start fighting a scam like this would be like, hey, it's a scam. Didn't you hear about such and such? Or didn't you hear about the arrests in China? Or, you know, 100 people got arrested in China, or whatever the case. And very, very early on, you realize that no matter what you say, the people are going to call you names like that, say that you're lying, call you a jealous Bitcoiner, things like this. So what we started doing is we began anything that we would claim, such as 119 arrests in China with 98 prosecuted and 33 in prison, we would always provide links and sources. And in that respect, anything that we would publish, we would be able to back up from a reliable source. Yet, even after 5 years, after volumes, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of posts and comments, you know, across social media, trying to open these people's eyes, even showing articles from the Atlantic calling OneCoin a Ponzi scheme, even showing, you know, articles from, you know, it didn't matter what the source was. These are just lies. And then the lies became bigger. It was that the United States and the Federal Reserve is scared of us because they know that cryptocurrency is the future, and they know that OneCoin has the best system, and that that's a threat to the US dollar. So as preposterous as you could possibly imagine something getting out of control, it did. It would be like if you put an entire, you know, bucket of soap in your washing machine and just turn it on. I mean, it's gonna go throughout your house, and this is and be super ridiculous. And this is the level of ridiculousness that that these people and followers have been indoctrinated into.
And I just to make it a little bit more clear as well, it wasn't just these resellers that were making these claims. I mean, maybe you could chalk up a little bit of, some people may say, well, these guys, are incentivized and maybe they're making these claims, on their own or something like that. But you actually sent me some text. Those from OneCoin's own website in 2015 that I'll read here real quick. And I quote, OneCoin provides a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity revolutionizing the business world of today's digital economy, unquote. And they kind of go on here at this point to talk about Bitcoin's history once again, value increase in Bitcoin. And then they continue with, and I quote, the opportunity is now open for you to be a part of the next big winner in digital currency, OneCoin. OneCoin has the ambition to become the next big cryptocurrency as it uses the latest technology, provides long-term value to investors, and has a well-thought-through concept. This opportunity is only available through a strict by-invitation basis, providing you the knowledge you need to succeed in the world of cryptocurrency. And so, the SEC has actually come down on various ICOs in the last year or so for being unregistered securities because they just inferred a promise of future value. I mean, this isn't inferring. This is a pure promise of future value. And to go back a little bit to the part that I did skip over, but we heard in the presentations and the clips as well, and you've also talked about that they constantly mention this, is they always talk about Bitcoin. They reference it constantly, which is smart. They're invoking the legitimacy that Bitcoin has earned. They fought for it for over a decade of bootstrapping, and by attaching themselves to a known quantity, they kind of invoke this, dynastic succession as the bigger, better, the next Bitcoin, which is a very smart thing to do. But it also casts a lot of doubt, or when people associate that they've heard, if they came through OneCoin or whatever, or as this becomes a bigger and bigger story, it does hurt Bitcoin in a way by kind of attaching itself to it.
Well, sure, yeah, and still most of the world is not really that familiar with cryptocurrency, and if they are, they've maybe heard about Bitcoin, but certainly the majority of people have never heard about Ethereum. And so when someone hears about cryptocurrency, their automatic reflex is to think of Bitcoin. And they've heard good and bad about Bitcoin, and then they hear about this cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme called OneCoin, and they're automatically going to relate that to not an MLM scam or a Ponzi or pyramid scheme, but a cryptocurrency scam or a Bitcoin scam, like literally, and I've mentioned this several times, that when I would tell people, hey, I can't believe what this company is doing and getting away with, and they're growing so fast, and I'm all this, what's the name of the company, OneCoin, and they would say, well, yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about Bitcoin. I'm all, no, I'm not talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about something totally different. This is pretending to be a cryptocurrency. It's not.
And that is the end of part 1 of this episode. Part 2 is going to simultaneously be released, but I decided to split these up into 2 one-hour podcasts each for easier consumption for the listeners. So episode 59 will be part 1 of this interview. Episode 2 will be part 2, continuing the saga, continuing the presentation of clips of these individuals, and this will end with a really interesting conversation around Ruja's FBI wiretaps that were released and the kind of implications of the organized crime element within OneCoin. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it, so make sure that you go and listen to episode 60 as soon as you can. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.